Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's been a while, but in case you don't know me, my name is Timothy, and I'm the founder of this YouTube channel, A Key to Spain, where I show Spain to Americans and help them to decide whether they want to visit here or even better live here like I did, especially in the case of digital nomads, semi-retirees, and retirees. And right now, I'm not even in mainland Spain. I'm actually off the coast of Africa right now in Gran Canaria of the Canary Islands. Really beautiful, exotic, and unique place. So yeah, that's what I'm going to talk about in this particular video is, are the Canary Islands right for you as an American to live in either full-time or for a small portion of the year? In other words, like a long-term stay. All right, so I think the first thing that you should know as an American when visiting the Canary Islands is that it's actually a lot more car-centric than other places in Spain like Barcelona, Valencia, or Madrid. In other words, yes, there are buses here, but there are no trains, and the buses tend to really go between the major sites like here in Mogon to the airport or to Las Palmas, the capital. But if you really want to go visit all these really cool natural sites, such as the dunes or these caves, you're gonna really have to rent a car or own a car, lease a car, something like that, and drive over. Fortunately, for the most part, parking actually is not that difficult to find here, especially in the off season. Well, it's more like shoulder season right now. It's early March. My experience renting a car here and driving has actually been pretty good. The drivers here aren't too aggressive or too reckless. So the second thing that you should know as an American is the weather here. So you might be asking, what about the weather? How's the weather? So it's early March right now, and it's only 70 degrees outside, and you can't see the beach behind me because of those buildings, but there are literally a lot of tourists sunbathing and swimming, and the water is actually decently warm despite being March. This is about the same latitude, I believe, as Tampa and Orlando and Florida, so you have a very mild winter here. But then how's summer? So summer is definitely warmer than it would be right now, but apparently temperatures, I'll put it on the screen here, the average temperatures during summer in Gran Canaria they're actually pretty mild, and it's because we're surrounded by the Atlantic Ocean here. Now this part of the island, so you should know something about the Canary Islands, which is that the weather on one island can actually vary wildly. In the north, it's actually kind of cloudy and almost rainy right now, but here in the south, it's very dry and sunny. But yeah, in general, I would say the Canary Islands has some great weather for most of the year. So the third thing you should know about as an American in regards to the Canary Islands in terms of traveling here or living here is the geographical isolation from the rest of Europe. I mean, even to fly from mainland Spain itself, it still takes 2.5 hours to get here. I mean, that's about the same flight time as going from Florida to New York City. So that's just something to bear in mind. Now, there are direct flights going from Tenerife, which is another island, to Newark, New Jersey, which I think could be helpful for some of you. But the reality is that if you wanted to come here, you'd probably have to do a stop somewhere in mainland Europe before coming here. So just know that the travel time can be a bit long to get here to Canary Islands versus going directly to, Madrid or Barcelona, because those two cities are very well connected to the United States. So speaking of isolation, the fourth thing I wanted to talk about is, how is the cost of living here if this is so isolated from most of Europe? The answer is that it's actually about the same or comparable to most of Spain. And I believe the reason for that is because the Spanish government, I believe also the European government, heavily subsidizes flights and transport to and from the islands to mainland Europe. So in terms of what you're paying like at a grocery store or restaurant, it's honestly more or less the same as what you would be paying in Valencia or Murcia or Sevilla, maybe even Madrid, Barcelona, it just depends, But it's not like the difference between Hawaii and Texas or Puerto Rico and Texas, where Hawaii and Puerto Rico, even including groceries, are just going to be that much more expensive than what you would even find in, Texas or Oklahoma. It's not like that here. The prices stay more or less within range. Okay, so for number 5, the fifth thing I wanted to talk about is safety here. So some of you may be wondering, are the Canary Islands safe? And the answer is, I can say with certainty, yes, absolutely they are. I feel a lot safer here than I would in most cities in the United States. That's absolutely true. I feel safer here than I did in Paris or in London. I mean, you have like kind of a small island mentality, especially when you get out of the major tourist areas and you go into these more local towns with, you know, local people who've been here for generations. It feels very safe here for the most part. Now, I still would not leave valuables in a vehicle in broad daylight and things like that. But in general, I feel very safe being around here, walking around here. I mean, I actually even think that this is one of the safest places in the world to visit for female solo travelers. I would definitely put the Canary Islands in my top 10 for them. Yeah, honestly, I just don't feel scared or paranoid here really at all for the most part. It's a very relaxing island mentality, and I like that. It's enjoyable. Oh, and another thing is that speaking of isolation, I actually do think that the Canary Islands would be a safe place to live in during a war, just because there's not a lot of major infrastructure that's here. There are some offshore drilling rigs for oil and maybe gas. Don't quote me on that one. But in general, because of the isolation here, I just don't think this would be a place that would get bombed or something that bad. So for the sixth thing that you should know about the Canary Islands, and I'm sure you're wondering, is how are the people here? Are the people pleasant? Are they friendly? And from my experience, yeah, absolutely they are. I've had a wonderful time getting to know people from the Canary Islands over the past couple of years. They seem to be very friendly and welcoming people, and I've certainly felt that warmth when I came here. And apart from the noise that you see on the media with, you know, these anti-tourism protests and the graffiti, the reality is that if you're here as an American, you're gonna have a great time. As I said, people here are very welcome, they're warm, they're friendly, and a lot of them actually do speak very good English. I would say it's probably on par with Barcelona and Madrid in terms of English proficiency. And I would say it's because it's just due to the sheer volume of tourists and retirees coming here from the United Kingdom, Ireland, Germany, Netherlands, Scandinavia, etc. So there probably won't be too bad of a language barrier here for you. And the interesting thing is that the Spanish that they do speak here is actually very similar to that of Cuba, Puerto Rico, and Venezuela. It's actually very different from what you would hear if you went to Madrid, for example. That Spanish is like, you know, real Castilian in a sense, but the stuff here is much more closely related to Latin American Spanish. But it's very cool to hear all these differences. Okay, so to conclude my thoughts on this video, yeah, Canary Islands, absolutely awesome to visit. There are a lot of pluses and advantages to being here in this really beautiful place just off the coast of Africa, politically part of Spain and Europe. But I can't see myself living here anytime soon for the simple reason of the geographical isolation from the rest of Europe and most certainly North America. As I said, there's not a lot of flights that go here directly to the United States. You have much better luck finding those from Madrid or Barcelona than you would here in the Canary Islands. But you know what? This is just my 2 cents, my opinion. I just highly recommend that any of you just come here for a visit as part of your scouting trip, as part of relaxation, as part of a relaxing vacation. Just have a look around, enjoy. And yeah, as I said, overall, there are definitely a lot more pluses than minuses. But just for me, being an American digital nomad in my 20s, I prefer to stay in Valencia, at least for now. But I really hope you liked this video, and please subscribe for more content about Spain and visiting Spain, moving to Spain from a young American male perspective. Take care. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.